We have so many. So, without taking a lot of time, I want to invite Samah. We are giving you 40 minutes to present your work, to convince us that you are the one who did it. But before that, the critical reader is in the room. The supervisors are in the room. The supervisors are two. The supervisors are Professor Kyomuhendo Bantebya, and Dr. Phiona Mpanga. Those are the supervisors. The topic is reintegration of women prisoners in Yemeni communities, a gender analysis of prison support models. Please, Samah, feel free to present to us. We start right away. It is, you follow the other clock. So 30 minutes, you will stop. Then 40 minutes, then the opponent, or no, the critical reader will engage you. Thereafter, other panelists will also engage you. Feel free to start and continue. May you be blessed.
Thank you so much, Professor Magiza, Chairperson. Thank you so much, Examination Committee. I'm really happy today to present my study. It is about reintegration of women prisoners in a Yemeni community, a gender analysis of prison support models. This study, it consists of the following sections. It is starting with the background, problem statement, backgrounds, problem statements, objective of the research, theoretical framework, methodology, key findings, discussions, and conclusion and recommendations. First of all, please allow me to show you where this study it is exactly. It is exactly here in Yemen, which is near to Eritrea, Somalia, Ethiopia. In Yemen, it is exactly in the south of Yemen, in Aden. So the study background is we have globally about 11 million prisoners. 7% of them they are female. They are facing the vulnerability and stigma around them. Globally, they are around 80% of them. They are suffering of the trauma. 50% of them mental health challenge. In the regionally, there is those women. They are very small percentage, but also they are facing a lot of barriers, cultural barriers, legal barriers, and gender like barriers around them. In Yemen, 70% of the women in the prison, they have experienced trauma, including domestic violence and abuse. And most of the women in the jail, they are in the jail because of the non-violence crimes, such as trafficking of drugs, thieves, and fraud. Most of the factors that led to commit this crime, it is the poverty, family responsibilities, economic situation, and gender-based violence in the conservative societies. In the MENA region, most of them commonly in prison before of the moral and family-related crimes, drug crimes. In Yemen, exactly, there is a lot of them in prison because adultery and transport of drugs. The situation of the ongoing conflict, it is affected also the women in the prison and the reintegration process in the prison. So we can see largely when the prison it is designed for men, and making women needs, it is invisible. Most of the prisons it is overcrowded, and sometimes it is holded twice of their capacity. In Yemen, reintegration programs are limited and very not gender sensitive, and also weak because of the shortage of funds that we are seeing it currently, and also because of the ongoing conflict that it is affected all the infrastructures in Yemen, and also the prison itself. So the problem statement of this research, it is the reintegration of women prisoners in Yemen. It is critical because of the intersection of the gender-based marginalization and the effect of war. So it also affected by the institution collapse because of the war and the conflict. On the other hand, the literature review also, it is dealing with the women in prison as a statistic subject, not as the gender agent with the voices and experience of life. The fundamental gap in the lived experience, perspective, and agency of women prisoners are largely abused from the analysis. So therefore, this study, it is investigate prison support models in Yemen, but also the design and delivery intersect with the gender pathway and the ability to support women integration in the Yemeni community. The objectives of this study, the main objective of this study, it is to conduct a gender analysis of prison support model for women in Yemeni in Yemen to reconnect a gender responsive framework for their successful reintegration. In this study, I applied 4 specific objectives. The first one, it is to critically assess the structure, content, and delivery of the exit support and reintegration programs within the Yemeni prisons, to explore the skills development for women prisoners as essential requirement for their successful reintegration, to explore the perspective and the experience of women in the prison, and how about the available support programs. Number 4, it is to propose a gender-sensitive framework for rehabilitation that address the identified gap and align with the specific psycho-culture needs in the Yemeni prisoners. The research questions, I have also 4 questions in this study. It is, what is the structure, content, and mode of delivering existing support reintegration programs for Yemeni women inside the prison, and how effective it is in the current time? What skills does the prison in the Yemeni perceive as essential for their successful reintegration in the community? How women in the prison perceive and adequate the relevance and the available support programs based on their lived experience? What is the key components of the gender responsive framework for rehabilitation to address their identified gap, align with the specific psychoculture needs in the Yemeni prisons? The theoretical framework of this study, I applied 2 theories. The first one, it is the liberal feminist theory. sorry, I applied the liberal feminist theory. So this theory helped us to get like a bigger picture about why women they are in the prison and what is the challenge they are facing it regarding the patriarchy and legal inequalities, discrimination, and limited of opportunities that shaped their lives. In the link with the feminist criminology, also it is explained how the behavior often of those women in the prison conditions according to the poverty, economic situation, victimization rather than the personal failure. Using this lens that we can rather that exist support programs reinforce the gender equality. For example, the trainings that they get it in the prison, is it enough for them to release in a good way to get a good opportunity, or it is just only for making them just only find a low paid jobs? The second theory, it is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This one, it was very important to apply in the study to all in order to guide us about the order of the reintegration programs of women when they return to the community. It is going to fit the basic things that they need, like the food, the security, belong, esteem, and also self-actualization, or it is not like designed as what is the Maslow's theory mentioned. Also, by using this approach to ensure that the support programs follow the logical and effective consequences. Research design. The methodology I started with the research design. This is a qualitative case study focused in one prison in Yemen. It is Aden prison because it is one of the biggest prisons in the south of Yemen, which it is under the control of the international recognized government. All women that I interviewed, they are from the from different social demographic, and also different spend of time, and also the crimes is itself. This approach also, it was focused on the real life and experience of the women. Study area, as I mentioned, it is in Aden Central Prison in Aden. Here in this picture, we can see like this is the prison from outside, and we can see clearly like how is the war it is affected the infrastructure in Yemen in general and prisons in particularly. This is also the picture of the prison from inside. This picture also, it shows us the location of the prison itself. It is this one exactly, here the main road, but this is here the main gate, and the prison itself. We can from this picture see clearly like this is the places of men, how it is designed well, and it is well structured to occupy those men. Even we can here see like there is a space for air and sun, and it is a really well designed. But here we can see in this place only a new construction for women, and it is actually, it is from this picture, it is not organized well like the other places of men. So most of the time when in any prison they started on it, they don't think that we have a place also for women. So the priorities of women, it comes after that, when they realize that now we have women also, okay, we can now make a small place for them. The sample size for this study, it was 20 women in prison. Actually, it was all of them, all the women that I found at that time during my data collection. And also I interviewed 4 persons from the staff of the prison themselves. 2 focus group was conducted also with the family members, the community members, like social workers, teachers, business owner, women, elder, community leaders, religious leaders like sheikh, imams of masjid, like all the active people in the society. The first focus group discussion, it was with 11 community members, 6 male and 5 female. The second one, it was with 9 community members, 5 male and 4 female. The data collection method, it was structured in-depth interviews with all the 20 women. The data collection, it was in the taking note only. I was not able to record the voices of the women because of the prison constructions, and because when I started my data collection, I was about to sign a code of conduct according to the law of the prison, which like there is a lot of constructions that I signed it, so I was like I should follow these constructions that they give me. The key informants also interviews with the 4 staff, the 2 focus group discussions on the reintegration attitude, documents review of the prison policies and also program manual, observation of the rehabilitation or exactly about the vocational programs that I saw during my field visit. Data analysis. The data analysis was analyzed, thematically analysis, manual. It is starting also by the manual coding, and also the themes. It was relevant to the gaps and needs and the systematic barriers. To ensure also the trustworthy line, I was using the triangular the data that I get it with the with, like, for example, the interviews that I'm making, the key informants, focus group discussion, the observation that I see, the interviewers that I met them also in the interviews, and what is the information that they gave it. The flexibility, it was through maintained the research journal. During that I started this research until the end of it. Ethical consideration. The ethical consideration, it is started by getting introduction later from the gender school, which helped me a lot to introduce myself in Yemen, to show that I'm from the International Institute and I'm going to do this study. So according to that, later I got the I got another paper from the Ministry of Interior that allow me to visit the to visit the prison, and also on the other hand, I signed, as I mentioned, all the code of conduct and all the structures that they give me according to the Yemeni law. Informed consent with all the participants and confidentiality, because I'm dealing with a very sensitive data for women in the prison in Yemen, which is in a very conservative society. So the confidentiality, it was so much high and taking in care. Trauma sensitive, also interviewing to minimize the harm, as because I'm dealing with women who had past trauma and past like psychosocial situation, which it needs to take care carefully during the interviews. All participants' name change with another name, pseudonym name, and also all the identities that I have, it is omitted. Positionality. I understand that I'm from Yemen also, and from the same gender of the women that I'm going to that I interviewed. So that was like, sometimes it is helpful and sometimes also risky. So it was helpful because I'm from the same gender and from the same language, from the same country. So it was easy for me to take the notes and to understand the language, to reflect the same word exactly as what they says. But also it was risky because I have like a background about the Yemeni community and a background about the conservative society and how it is affect the women in Yemen. So I was trying always to keep myself outside this research and focusing exactly about what they are saying without any bias, and reflect just only what they are saying only on that. So here the findings, I will start in the findings with those 20 women. The 20 women here we can see the information about those women. The age of the women, yeah. The age of the women, they are between between 19 and 48. Most of them, as we can see from the number of children, most of them, they have kids and they are responsible for other people. Most of them, they are divorced. Few of them also widow, and a few single. The level of education, from the data that I got, most of them, they have, or a lot of them, they are from the low education and from the low background of the study. Even the work that they had before, it was a very simple work, and it is not in like higher positions. During this study also, I found the crimes that they committed. The crimes that committed, like some of them, kidnapping, theft, murder, drugs trafficking, bombing, prostitution, fraud, murder. So it is a different, it is exactly a different, it is a different crimes. But also when I went in depth in these crimes and how it is happened, I found, like, for example, for the kidnapping, Jalila, she said, like, I was requested from one of the relative of the child to take this child from a government to another governorate for exchange some money. And I thought that it is just only a service that I will do it for someone. In the middle of the road, she catched by the checkpoint, and she accused for kidnapping this child. So she found herself in the prison because of that. Also Noura, she said, like, أنا في السجن بسبب إن أنا كنتش أعمل في تجارة البضائع. Like, she is transporting goods from a place to another place, and she was like not understand that there is something inside this good, and I didn't know that those goods are contained drugs. I was never aware about that. She said, like, I don't know about that, and I suddenly found that. So also from these two things that we can see, like, they are not managing a high level of the crimes, but they are used by others. Kayan, she said, like, also, أنا في السجن بسبب تجارة المخدرات لأنني قمت بنقل بعضها من صديق إلى صديق آخر. So I accused for drug trafficking since 2022, and I trust that friend who to carry things from a city to another city for some money. But also Najla, she has another story that she's a she is in the prison killing her child. But when I came to the interview and I asked her why you are, she was like, it was like very sensitive interview. This one, it was very, very sensitive interview. Even I was like not able to continue it in a proper way, because she was telling me about like her husband put her in a room and he locked her in the room. So she was worried about the kids, so she threw it from the up of the window, so the child killed. So like she said like يعني أنا كنت خائفة على ابني ورميت فيه من النافذة. So in this case, now she is in the prison because of killing, but actually she was like fearing of this child to die of hunger, because she was in the room for more than 24 hours, prison by her, it is locked by her husband. It was very, very sensitive interview that I met in the prison. And also Ghadir, she said like I'm here in trafficking of also some drugs, because I'm not, and Ghadir, she was not the first time in the prison, but she is the second time in the prison. The first time that she was with joining armed groups, a non-legal armed group, and now she is in the prison because of drug. So that means like this economic situation, it is too hard for women, especially that they are in the age of responsibilities for others. Here also the interviews with the prison staff, the prison director, he was male, the director general of the trainings rehabilitation, he was male, deputy director of the training and rehabilitation for women, she was a woman, head of the sector of the women, also she was a woman. The findings also now, if I will, I'm going to explain according to the objectives that I analyzed regarding to the first objective that I have about the gender analysis of the existing support models. I found in this study that there is some of the rehabilitation programs in the prison, but they are very short and limited, interrupted, and also according to the shorting, also because of the shortage of the fund. Galila, she says التدريبات كانت قصيرة ومتقطعة بسبب نقص التمويل. Those courses was short and interrupted due to the lack of funding. Also, Dalal, she said, I participated in a short trainings. أنا شاركت في تدريبات قصيرة ولكنها كانت قصيرة جدا ومحدودة المدى. So it is a limited in a scope, but also the same sentence that I found it from most of the other participants that I interviewed. In this picture, during the interview, this is me, and this is one of the women in the prison. Also, the women in the prison, we cannot take any pictures for their face because of the law of the prison. But what I want to show in this picture, that can you easily see here behind me that there is some of the sewing machine which is not function. Even there is no chairs and there is no any activities here. It is just only stores. So that means that there is some rehabilitation programs, but it is not working well. Also, I was able to take this picture for this class from outside, which is also, it was locked, and even I couldn't enter to it. It is a class for the theoretical things that they make it during these rehabilitation programs. the psychosocial support, there is also a few sessions of the psychosocial supports and mental health, but also it is not continuous and depending on the availability of the psychologists and also the people that they can fund these practices. Like for example, Rima, she said, I received psychosocial sessions. It helps me in this crisis. لقد حصلت على بعض الدعم النفسي الذي يعتبر أنه مهم في حياتي. The women in the prison also realized that the psychosocial support, it is very important for them, but also they couldn't finding in a regular way. So the prison also, Suhash says, the prison here provide psychosocial session, but it is according to the availability of the psychologist. Kayan, she said also the prison provide us a legal. This is regarding to the legal and family support. There is some legal support in the prison, and it is also according to the Yemeni law that we need to provide a legal support for the women in the prison, but also according to the availability and the fund that it is. Like for example, during my interviewing with them, I discovered that there is just only one lawyer. She is a female lawyer for all the 20 ladies, but she come also according to the availability of fund because they pay for her daily. So the assistant with the legal access and family mediation, the family involving for the emotional, sentiment and reintegration. The participant says the prison provides some legal support according to the financial capability. Objective number two, it is about the women needs for the skills. The first theme, it is about the sustainable livelihood and economic agency. The most experience. So it is about the vocational trainings, and they was focusing on the the vocational trainings and the financial independency, the need for comprehensive and long-term trainings like in the sewing or hairdressing or mobile phones maintenance. Like for example, Jalila, she said, أحتاج بعد الخروج من هذا السجن إلى أن أجد فرصة عمل لأن أعمل بها أنا وعائلتي وأعيل فيها عائلتي. Like what I need after I go out of this prison to find job opportunity, and I'm eager to work and learn more about the sewing skills. Women also Najla, she said, women in prison needs for the long-term learning, specifically in the professional things like the sewing or hairdressing. The need for financial support, there is a highly need of the financial support for those women. Suhash said, I want to start a small project which I can earn some money after she means like after she will go out of the prison. Also, the initial funding, job creation, and critical start, it is small businesses like after release. So I need some of the time to get out of this prison for a specific professional work and starting my own project. Need also for the psychosocial support and consulting. This is also one of the most important findings. Like even the women themselves, they understand the importance of the psychosocial support for them. The need of the family reconnection and support system. It is a very critical situation in Yemen to be in a prison. It is very hard for the family to accept you. The women themselves, they are now understanding what they will happen to them after they will go outside, because when they are now in the prison during these interviews, they found that no one visited them except some only of their relatives. Like for example, here Noura, she said like um, sorry, like some of them, they says like no one come to visit us because of the stigma of the prison. So the families, even themselves, they cannot go to the prison to visit, although there is one day each 2 weeks for family visiting, but also it is a very critical for the families to go and to visit their relatives there. Objective number two, also under the comprehensive and personal programs, the women acknowledge the ability of the programs and also the prison systems. Also the programs such as this vocational training in sewing, hairdressing, where it is noted, but the participants also describe those initiatives as not sufficient and also limited in the duration. So like for example Ghadir, she said I need more comprehensive support, أحتاج إلى تدريب متطور أكثر. And also here from and also the director of this rehabilitation training says there is a need for shift from small initiatives to the comprehensive strategies. So even the prison staff themselves, they know that these reintegration programs, it is a very short and not capable to fill the gap of the needs of those women. The women perspective under the objective number 3, it was the need for the vocational trainings and specific, not short term, for the lack of the fund, limited practical impact on the employment and reintegration, stigma, it is, and the social discrimination and breaking the family ties, it is a very critical issue with them. Existing support like the vocational training, consulting, and the legal aid, it is not consist and in a very short term. Peer support and community awareness programs are underdeveloped. The criminal record, it is affect the job opportunity for them after release. So like for example Fatima, she said financial weakness continues a major obstacle. Like she said like يعني بعد خروجي من السجن انه ما عندهاش المبلغ الكافي انها بتكون يعني في اعاقات كثيرة لها. The stigma and family rejection, it is not easy to be a woman in a woman in the prison, in a conservative society, in a country affected also by war and also affected even by some of the other countries now, as we see like there is also attack from Israel. So all these situation of the women in the prison, it makes their situation is difficult. Under the objective number 4, there is some of the recommendations from that I got it from the interviews. Promote the financial independence to restore dignity and social trust. Like for example, Najwa, she said, when I can rely on myself and provide source of income, so I will get again the trust of the society, and I will be able to continue in the society with most trust. Providing treatments, consulting, and peer support group trauma and recovery. Public awareness, it is a very important recommendation that I got it from those women. Engaging of the religious and local leaders for the community empathy. So gender analysis of the existing group, sorry. So also facilitate some of the family reunification and also the implementing of the long-term programs. Like here also one of the key informants also she said, like, to improve the reintegration process of the women, we need the government to apply a comprehensive support models, and including the trainings with the psychosocial support, with the financial support. So we need like to make the comprehensive approach. So the discussion is the first objective. It is the gender analysis in the prison models. The vocational training programs are exit, but it is very limited, and that is also aligned with the literature review of Davis and Miller. Women committed crimes due to the lack of service opportunity and due to the lack of the economic opportunities and demands. It is aligned with the liberal feminist theory that always seek to the freedom and opportunities, human rights for women, and also mentioned that the factors of the poverty and low income, it can affect on women in the prison, and for the reasons also for their committing these crimes. The existing programs, it is fail to meet the actual need gaps for those women, and the weak legal support, family neglected, psychosocial also, and psycho-political situation. It is affect on the needs of the women according to Maslow theory. Community awareness and support is essential to reduce the stigma, especially in a very conservative society like Yemen, as also it is mentioned by Taylor. Women needs in the prison. Also, the participants emphasize the comprehensive training, which it is also mentioned by Davis and Richard, and also Smith. The current programs are limited in scope, and also the critical gap and of these skills by Johnson. Participants stressed the financial support, which is also aligned with the literature of Brown and Johnson. Psychosocial support, it is aligned with the Turner and Brown. Call for holistic rehabilitation programs and reintegration training and psychosocial support and life skills, with it is aligned with Johnson and Beta. Family reconnection, as we highlighted that it is very important in conservative society, align with the participants interviews and also Smith in the literature. Women prisoners' perspective about the support of this reintegration. Women perceive the existing reintegration programs are weak and not enough, as mentioned also in Smith and Johnson. The programs, it is failed to meet the basic psychosocial, psychological needs, aligned with Maslow heritage. Okay, conclusion. This study conclude that the current prison support models in Yemen, it is not capable to prepare women prisoners for the successful reintegration in the community. The programs, it is only sketch and service. They offer basic support like vocational training, but ignoring the deep gender and economic reason to push those women to the justice system in a first place. The models fail to comprehend the hierarchical and also sequences of the natural human needs according to the Maslow theory. So the recommendation in general now of the study, the recommendation of the study, it is replacing the short-term programs to a comprehensive and market-based skills, expand trainings from the social, like work only, including the business, financial, and enterprise skills, making psychological and trauma-informed support to a core of service during the in prison and after also the release, develop initial of individual reintegration plan for the women before their release to cover how they can manage their housing, their work, their legal situation, and their family support after the release. Also, in the under the structure and policy, establish a national and gender reintegration framework to support supported by the government, non-government NGOs and donors, ensure that the reintegration is the core of the justice and protection system. Create through the gate support that link those women after leaving the prison with the services, psychosocial agencies, and also the financial support. Provide also access to provide access to startup fund, to the macro loans, and other economic situation. In the community, the public awareness campaign, it is highly important for reducing the stigma, and for getting a new chance for those women, for getting acceptance from the community. Introduce the family mediation service to the families and to the women in prison before the release. Establish also peer support and mentorship networks led by the successful by the women who have like a successful reintegration before. Strength partnership with the women-led organization to expand on the support services. Regarding to the research, also from this study, I found like there is a need to conduct gender comparative study to understand the differences in reintegration needs between men and women. Documents and evaluate that works. It is like how the integration programs in Yemen build a local evidence based on the guide policy, improve the programs, and also avoid the unsuitable suitable models for those women. So I will acknowledgement, I will postpone it later. Here, please let me allow me to mention the papers that I published. I published 3 papers. This one, it is about mapping. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samah. Don't close the computer. Don't leave it open. You will use it. Okay, it's fine. Thank you for the presentation. Now the critical time has come. We have someone who has read your book from the first word to the full stop. And he has not just been reading it, but he has read it critically. So we are calling him a critical reader. He's going to engage you and one-on-one. He will ask you questions and they will respond. You prove that you did the work. He's no longer an opponent. He's not against you. But he's a critical reader. He has to engage you. Don't fear. So Dr. Phineas is the opponent. The time has come for you to engage the candidate. You are welcome to the podium. A minute before.
Today I have learned, and I would like us to adopt as a university, this new description of the person who does this role, from opponent to critical reader. The other day, the Dean in Social Sciences also suggested a discussant. So opponent sounds like we are really... So I think, Chair, we should consider these again and make a contribution, the higher degrees of graduate school. Because opponent might sound like you've done nothing, so I want to really show you that you've done nothing. On the contrary, you've done this work for a long time. It's your work. You know it better than everybody. Even your supervisors, you're leading your supervisors where you want to go, they are guiding you. So, perhaps this changes. Today, I have an opportunity as a scholar, as an academic in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, again to make a contribution to scholarship by engaging with today's candidate, Samah Abdo Yousef. That's hopefully how you pronounce your name, or close to that. My name is Phiona Mpanga. I'm from the Department of Social Work and Social Administration. I was told that the profession, the social work profession, and truly so, was actually started by women. And the interest was a lot of things, including your research somehow touches advocacy, you know, on rights and interests and needs of women prisoners. So that means that it's hard for me to be a total opponent. I'm seeing your contribution to social work, but also to the broader social science theory. Okay, so the chair of this doctoral defense, and you, the candidate, the supervisors of the candidate who are here, Professor Bantebya, Grace, and the other supervisor, whose name I think I am skipping, but I know there are two supervisors. Members of the academic panel, I hope that every one of the members of the panel is here. And then colleagues and distinguished guests, I believe you have friends and family who might be in this room. A very good morning to you all. I will start by observing that a doctoral defense is both a culmination and a beginning, and creates a good space in which you will demonstrate your mastery of your research. You're going to have the opportunity to explain the many decisions that you took. So it's an opportunity for us in this meeting for you to help us understand why you took a number of decisions and how you took them as a researcher throughout your research journey, how you justify a number of methodological choices, and how you reflected deeply while you were doing your work on what was emerging as your findings. So it's an opportunity for you, and also for us and the other members who make a decision at the end of the day to take you forward to advance in your academic career. So it's not really terrible time. It's a good opportunity for you. Okay. Your thesis is rich, deeply reflective, and grounded in feminist epistemology. You chose a qualitative case study, which is very helpful in your exploration of the issues of your interest. Your choice of this also elevates, I saw the many voices that you are pointing out, which you captured during your data collection. This methodology or approach also elevates the voices of a profoundly marginalized group, women prisoners in Yemen. The theoretical integration is quite innovative, and also your framework offers a practical foundation for future reform. I hope I'm right. Okay, having said that, however, there will be some questions that will be raised which are important in terms of methodological, conceptual, even policy questions that would like to see more and better in this engagement. And we know that by addressing some of these questions today and maybe a few moments later after today, you will strengthen your contribution further and sharpen the framework that you are trying to propose. So with these remarks, I once again congratulate you on the significant scholarly effort represented in this work. And we look forward to the responses that you will make against the questions or observations that are going to make throughout this conversation with you. And I hope that today our engagement will not only help to strengthen and enhance the quality of your final thesis, but will also prepare you to greater heights in your scholarly growth. Okay, so you have 5 chapters of your thesis, and I'm going to ask or comment or observe on the 5 chapters one by one. That's going to be my approach. And as I said, this is an opportunity for you to even enhance everybody's understanding and appreciation of your work. Okay, so my first question, this question is a good question for every researcher. My first question for you, just tell us once again, what was your source of motivation, or what was your motivation for undertaking this research, whose topic is reintegration of women prisoners in Yemen communities and the use of a gender analysis of prison support models? What was your motivation? I hope this is, by the way, this is just to tell you that one time I was a student in an Erasmus university, and this university allowed students to go to do exams with dictionaries. And some people saw me going to the exam without a dictionary, and they were so concerned. He said, "You will fail. Why don't you have this dictionary?" He said, "I don't need it." They said, "Why?" He said, "I don't need it. I have always done exams in English without a dictionary. I don't need it." He said, "Why? Are you from Britain? Are you British?" I said, "No, I've even never stepped there." And they asked me, "Which country do you come from?" I said, "Uganda." I said, "Is Uganda too English like that?" So I explained my colonialism story, and I was like, "Here we are fine," almost proudly mentioning that I know English, but I'm not English. So they understood that Uganda was over-colonized to the extent that Ugandans don't need dictionaries. And they said, "Sorry, that's really, really bad. You are over-colonized." I woke up. I said, "Oh, now I know." So when I came back, when the students didn't write good English, I had no problem with that. But in the past, before that, I used to be disturbed. So please, I have been warned that you are not like Ugandans who are proud to speak English. So I'm going to make sure that I tone down. If it is not good for you, just let me know. Is that okay? So my first question is, why did you choose, what motivated you to pick up this topic? You, Samah, this is your research. What was the source of motivation?
Thank you so much, Doctor, for raising this question. Actually, as a humanitarian worker in the Yemeni community for over 15 years, and I noted a lot of protection issues for women during these 15 years of journey in Yemen. One of the things that I was always think about it, that I saw that women, when they go to from outside from the prison, that they suffer in the protection issues. So that was giving me like like a concern, how those women inside the prison, in a very conservative society, in a war affected by, in a country affected by war, how they will be there, and what is the situation for there, and how can I have contribution to raise their voices. So this is the most motivation for me to decided to go to this site and conduct my research. Although it will be like, I was like realized from the beginning that that will be a little bit like a challenge for me. It will not be easy access, like if I will choose any other protection issues in the community. But I decided for that because of the always concern about their situation inside the prison without any way for raising their voices.
Okay, so thank you so much. So that means that before you started this research, before you went to prison to collect data, you had visited prisons, right?
No, actually, I'm not working exactly in the prison, but I was working in the protection issues, and I worked before with the female security, and in some trainings for the Ministry of Interior trainings.
Okay, okay. So
Yes.
did you go to this prison setting the first time when you were a doctoral student? Was that your first time to be in the...
No, actually during the COVID situation, there is some fund from the Penal Reform International for the things of the COVID things. So it was in general to the prison, but I was not inside the prison of women.
Okay, okay.
So
okay.
it was for general, for women and men. So we hand over it to the prison management only. So
Okay.
I was not in touch with these women.
Okay, okay, that's
Yes.
very good. Okay,
Thank
so you work with a humanitarian organization or agents. Do you still work with them?
Since 2023, no.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I couldn't manage the situation of being a humanitarian worker and a PhD student. It was very difficult for me, so I
It's
decided.
very helpful. Do you talk about this motivation somewhere in your... I know I read your work, but do you write about it? Do you talk about it somewhere?
Was talking about it in the ethical consideration, but I couldn't like find a place to put all my personal background on this thesis.
Some prefer.
Yes.
I would
And
want...
the ethical and also positionality.
Yes. Well, if we don't forget, if you don't forget, much more transparent in terms of who you are, your position, your history. You've tried as much as possible to deal with bias, the risk of you yourself influencing the research outputs, you yourself. That's the part where that history will be very good and conscious that.
Doctor, much appreciate, and I will take that in my consideration of revising this thing.
The first concept, the focus is about reintegration. Does it mean, and in terms of
on the women in prison, and what is the reintegration process that it is happened inside the prison? Why? Because also there is like a belief that the reintegration, it doesn't happen for the prison to work after they go outside. Even the capacity itself of the prison, or even of the government, Yemeni government in general, because of the war that it is started in 2015, and it is affect all the infrastructure of Yemen, including the prisons. So the prison management, they just only trying to make these rehabilitation programs or this activity inside this prison only, and there is no way to track those women after they release, especially in this time, or in the current time of the collapse of the government and the weak situation of the government itself. So until now, during this study, I couldn't find that there is any track for the women after the release. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So what about the families of the women? Is there anything, maybe the family members visit them? Do they do anything with the family members?
During the interviews also, I found most of them, it says that the family themselves, they didn't visit them. Even some of them, I remember one of them, she says that until now I couldn't find where is my kids, where are they? So the family revisit to those women, it is a very critical. Some of them, they says that one only of our relatives, they come to visit us. Some of them, they says just only we are using the phone that the prison provide us, because the prison provide one phone only for all the 20 women, which is under also the control of the management of the prison itself, to call their families in a specific hour only, in like according to the schedule. So the family reconnection in the prison, it was a very critical issue during the stigma, during the conservative society, that they don't believe that if the man in the prison, it is not that much critical issue in the Yemeni community, but when the women, they go to the prison, so this is a very big stigma.
So, so then, of course, your research does not touch issues around where the women will go, including the families, right? In terms of data collection, in terms of the research?
It touch, because one of the questions that I asked, it is, how is the family reconnection? Although they was in the prison, but they realized that when our family, they don't come even now to see us, so what will happen for us after we will go back to the community? This is the concern that they shows in the interviews.
Okay, let's come back to the research problem, or the main research question. Just take me back to your main research question, and maybe help me understand your research question better now. What's your main question? What's your main research? Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Like the first question of this study, it is, what is the structure, type, and nature of those rehabilitation programs which is in the which is existing in the prisons of Yemen, and it is affected.
Maybe the main objective. Where is your main objective?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Take me through your main. Okay.
Okay. The main objective to conduct a gender analysis in the Yemen, to recommend a gender sensitive framework for the successful reintegration.
Okay. So your research main objective also reflects the key research gap. Okay, your focus is on the prison support models in, what's the name of the prison?
Aden Central Prison.
Yes, support models for women. And these support models, you're analyzing them. You're doing a gender analysis of these models in order to recommend gender responsive framework for their successful integration. Now, this main objective somehow brings you out again as somebody who really wants to do advocacy. Okay, you must find a solution. Do you agree with me on that? In order to recommend a gender responsive framework for their successful integration, do you agree that you are trying to find a solution based on your gender analysis of the models, and you are recommending this?
Thank you so much, Doctor. Actually, the research, it is including making the gender analysis, so it is some of the solution. The women respect their voices. So what the research. Yes.
Okay. Yes, you relate this. That's so. At what point your research process to come up with a framework? Should just emerge from your findings, but I think we can talk about that later. Okay. Now, your research questions, which you have on the next slide. There are 4 research questions. Somehow they also mirror the objectives. Do you see that? Do you see that? The research questions and the objectives are quite related. If we go through the 2, you see that you have research questions, which are drawn from the objectives. But I seem to not clearly see where you examine challenges or failures in reintegration proper or adequate reintegration of women despite the existing models. So are the models doing a good job, or the models have a problem?
From these interviews and this study, I found there is a problems also in the programs and the models of supports for these women in prison. This is what I came out from this study.
Yeah, in my opinion, your main research question is actually evaluative of the models. That's what I seem to see. And it runs through, especially research question 1. So it would have been good to have a main research question coming before this that is about, like, how are these models that are being applied, which you examined, which you engaged the prisoners on, and even the staff of the prison on, why are these models of reintegration failing, or why are they successful? So you went into the examination of these models and used a gender analysis approach. So the answer should be they are okay, or they have these gaps, and these gaps are what you are using to come up with a model. So I seem to miss that question coming out very clearly, and maybe reflecting on this, you may want to strengthen the key research question.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That will be much appreciated, and I will take it in the consideration.
Okay, thank you. So the justification for your work, especially linking wasted detention time with rehabilitation, is very compelling, it's very strong. But from a policy perspective, how do you differentiate the value of rehabilitation, and from the value of reintegration, rehabilitation and reintegration? Are they the same for women in Yemen, or these are different?
Thank you so much for this important question, Doctor. The rehabilitation aspect and process, it is contained some of the activities and some of the programs that it is that it is the targeting the focus and support those women, but the reintegration aspect, it is the bigger one, which things around those women, including the psychosocial support for them, or also about how they can overcome the trauma, how they can get acceptance and they accept again the society, how they can feel trust again. There is about like a good life models after the release from the prison. So the reintegration, it is like the biggest and the whole process, including the rehabilitation programs and model itself.
Okay, so what do you think is being emphasized most by the prison? Is it reintegration or rehabilitation? Consciously, those models, are they more towards rehabilitation or reintegration based on your research? If you are to look at these two, what is being emphasized more? Where is the investment more emphasized? Is it rehabilitation or reintegration?
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this question. From the study and what I found from this study, I found that the prison, it is focused more about the rehabilitation, because maybe because of the lack of the fund or the belief of these material trainings, it can like helps for those women more. And sometimes they ignore the psychosocial needs for the women and the things that also around them that can shape their acceptance in the community. So this study, in this study I found like the rehabilitation, it is in more focus from the prison, but also this study, it is seek to find how the reintegration it can be for those women
beginning, I asked a question on the scope of reintegration and asked, where does it start? Those aspects, of course, you've said more rehabilitation than reintegration, but you researched reintegration. Were you able to see reintegration activities or interventions starting from day one when women come to the prison up to when they leave and beyond when they leave? I think beyond when they leave is an issue, but at least does it start from day one? Or are you able to trace aspects of reintegration on the first day or the first week when the women come to the prisons?
Okay, thank you so much. The reintegration, it is a full process that should be in the prison, like as it is contained it. So when it should be start for those women in the prison, it is according to the also acceptance of those women. Some of them, when they arrive to the prison, I found from this study that when they arrived, they was like they had a depression, they was not able to talk to someone, so it was not easy to get like directly rehabilitation or reintegration from the day one. But during this process, I found that those women, they want to invest this time to get this initiation again after their release.
Do you think the women are worried more about what happens while they are in serving a prison sentence? What did you see? By the way, we shall discuss more of this later, but at the conceptual level, I think it's a good question chapter. You're so far doing well.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So we move to the second chapter of your thesis. Do you know it? Chapter number 2.
Yes.
What is it called?
Literature review.
Literature review. Okay, my first question there is, why is it important for you to review the literature?
Thank you so much. It was very important for me to review literature, to understand the literature and what it meant literature before, also to make the literature. So okay, thank you so much, Doctor. I choose this way because I found that the literature review, it can divide into 2 sections exactly. The 2 sections, the first one, it is the legal framework about, like, I found that there is a lot of about of the CEDAW or the Bangkok Bangkok rules, Doha rules, all these rules, Nelson Mandela rules, Kampala Declaration. So I found all these as a literature review can reach detection of about the right of prisoners in general and also in practical. Like for example, Bangkok rules, it was talking about the human rights and the specific rights for the prisoners. Or the like there is a small theory to understand the particular situation of women. Like some of them just only it is talking about the psychological situation of women. Some of them just only talking about how is the good life to yes, please. I selected the feminist, liberal feminist theory. On the other hand, it like it is must to read more about the literature reviews regarding to the objectives that I have in this study. So the literature reviews and what it says before it gives this study the global situation and the region situation. So that's mentioned before. It will help me to make my contribution from this study.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So the first part, the first component of your literature is mention, Kampala Declaration, Mandela rules, and so on. I don't know whether you don't mention these anywhere in your background. Do you mention them in your background at all, or you do not? Do you remember talking about this in your background to the study?
Sorry, doctor, which page?
No. I'm asking, do you at all talk about these instruments in any way in the background of the study?
About this literature?
Yes. No. The first part, the CEDAW, Doha Declaration, Mandela rules, because they appear as a significant subsection in your review of literature, but I'm asking you whether you don't talk about them at all in the background.
Yes, exactly.
You do not?
Yes.
I am thinking that these are better placed in the background section of your. You have to return to them. You return to them briefly, and this is just a suggestion, and maybe your supervisors will help me here or help you to do this better. The literature review, in my opinion, should really be framed around your objectives, and so the statement of the research gap. And also it should help you to justify your specific research questions. So it should really foreground your research questions, and this somehow in the last section, which you have called the empirical literature review, and it covers only about 4 pages. It's good, but it could actually be expanded and enhanced so that the debates, the literature, the evidence out there on models that work or models that don't work would be coming out. Okay, so I want to move forward.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
That is the main observation here on the literature, but also on the usage of the 2 theories. You use Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, which is a very beautiful theory. Okay, and how did you make sure that the Maslow's universalist claims about needs flowing from basic up to the top does not dominate the other theory, the liberal feminist theory in your about this?
Thank you so much, Doctor. I applied 2 theories, as I mentioned, that this is the liberal feminist theory, and it was the most important theory because it is talking about freedom, human rights, and women gender equality, the jobs which is like fit for women or pull them down. So it was like talking from the perspective of human rights more. So from that perspective, it came for me to use the Maslow theory to also speak about the actual needs for when they were released from this prison. They will not just only will need the freedom and human rights and like all these great also aspects, but also they will need to get food, to get accommodation, to get job to feed their families, to start a love with the families that they have, to start to successful also in their like teams. So there was like also another actual need that it is practically they will need it. So from this aspect, I use those 2 theories together.
Okay, so we are going to move to. We are going to move to the next chapter, your 3rd chapter.
Thank you.
And this is a very important chapter. This is where you make a lot of decisions as a researcher. Okay, so I would like to appreciate your usage of a qualitative approach and a case study design. Why did you choose a case study design?
Because, thank you so much for this also question. I use this case study because all the study it is around this prison in Aden. It is the central prison where all women in the south area around Aden, they come to this prison. So this is, and also it is the largest prison in the south area under the international recognized government, although that there is 3 other prisons, but they are in a far places from the south area, and they are smaller than this one. So this is the biggest one with the most population around it. From this perspective, I came to use the case study around on this prison.
Was your choice of Eden Central Prison related to anything? Was your choice of this prison related to anything about easiness of doing the research, or there is another factor behind the choice of this? Because you mentioned that this is the biggest. Is that sufficient, or is it, or there is more than that?
Nothing more than that. Only it is the biggest one, and it is in the capital of the south of Yemen, in Aden.
Okay.
So that's all.
That's all. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Now your study population is also almost your sample. So you did what we would call a census, although a census is not nice to use in qualitative feminist research. Okay? So you decided to include all the women who were incarcerated at the time you were collecting data. Were you sure there were women in the prison before you went there? These were 20, only 20.
Yes.
Maybe 20 are so many, but maybe they could be so few compared to the numbers of men, which you don't have to mention. But I feared that there was a risk of going to Eden prison and there is no woman incarcerated at the time of. So how did you know there were women?
From the starting of going to the Ministry of Interior and asking for the visit for the women section in the prison, and because I think in all the world there is women and men sections for the prisons.
Yes.
And this is, I think, it is something.
Yes, there are sections, but
yes, sections.
women's sections can easily be empty.
Yeah, but I started with the coordination with the Ministry of Interior, and the which assigned me to the prison management. From that one, I got the first list of the female prisoners. Before that, even I don't know that they were like 20, 15. I don't have idea, but I got it from the coordination time that.
So are there other prisons in Yemen that have female prisoners?
There is another 3 also prisons in the south area of Yemen, because actually I'm talking about the south area of Yemen because
Yes.
it is under the government, because there is also another prisons or something that we don't know about it in the north area of Yemen, which we can deal with it because it is not under the government.
Okay, so in
it
the
is,
southern part, is it only Eden?
no, there is 4 prisons.
There are 4 prisons.
Yes. 4
Okay.
prisons. Eden prison, it is the biggest one.
It's the biggest one.
Yes.
Why is it the biggest? Is it because it has 20 women compared to others?
No, not because of the, not exactly because of the numbers, but because it is in the central and in the capital of the south of Yemen. The other 3 prisons, it is in the rural areas, and it is far even from the government and the management.
So now the question is, supposing there were no women in all the prisons in Yemen, incarcerated, what were you going to do?
If when I started my study, I noted that there is no women.
Yes.
If that
You
is
went to
happened.
collect data and there are no women.
No women.
Yeah.
So if there is no women,
What would you have done?
so I said like maybe that will lead me to another research idea about why in Yemen there is no women in the prison.
Okay, that's a good one. You would have a new research question. So I'm trying to see your process, how you made decisions to choose Eden. One of the inclusion criteria for your study of any prison could have been or should have been that there must be women who are currently incarcerated. If they are not there, then you don't go to such a prison because your interest was
Women.
okay. So did you do some work before purposively selecting this?
Yes.
You did that?
Yes.
Okay, I know you did it. You went to the ministry or the minister and they told you this has. So you chose to go there. I think reflect on that and strengthen your choice, your selection of Eden as your study site, your case study site. The other question, I know you've talked about this, very important, and maybe it will be very good to, but maybe before that, there are about 2 or more types of case study design. Okay, you are not comparing in any way. It's not a comparative case. So I think it is close to a single case study design. And being a single case, it demands a lot from you as the researcher. A lot of exploration, a lot of decisions, a lot of, working hard to enhance trustworthiness and build confidence to your readers that you've done a good job. So you've actually tried to do that, but you don't mention that this is a single case and you don't make any citation to this effect. For instance, you do not mention Robert Yin, whom I know is very, very strong in terms of suggesting this kind of design. So I thought there was a gap there and you can improve that. Okay, so the other question is, you mentioned that, and you had a desire to engage or to interview or to meet women who had been released from prison. Did you have that desire? The need? Did you want to meet them and talk with them?
Actually, in this research, it was focusing on what is happening inside the prison and the reintegration process inside. Also, maybe this one, it can lead us to another research in the future to track those women, to track and to see what is the change.
Yes, but you said you couldn't interview women who had been released because of a certain factor or two. Do you remember? I think you had the desire. My answer should have been yes, you had the desire because you stated in your work. But you did not for reasons of security. And what else? This work, it is for 4 years. Traceability, yeah.
Yeah, it is for 4 years.
Yes.
So I started this research since also 4 years ago until today. So also to track those women during to the safety and security, it is not easy. And also,
which is okay.
Also, some of them, they change their phones, they change their locations. They want to start a new life without like people. They track them as women in the prison.
Yeah.
So, but if there is any another research, maybe it can find a solution for this problem.
Okay. So we miss this. We miss to include this because they have, in my opinion, a longer experience interfacing with the intervention models, and they could easily give us more strong insights. And so when you observe this, I think you have to strongly observe it and confirm that it is for reasons of security and challenges of traceability that you are unable to include this. But they would have really been very good. And were able to capture the length of time each of these 20 women had spent in the prison. Were able to capture that time, the length of time, maybe months, weeks, years. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor, for this important question. During the interview, I got all this information. The duration of stay in the prison, the duration, for example, for the first one, Galila, she was for 6 months, Najwa for 40 months, 52 months. I used months to exactly identify the time. Like I felt like when I was writing this one, if I will write like 1 year and a half or 1 year and blah blah, like it will not be like.
So, Samah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Thank you.
why were you interested in this? The length of time?
Thank you so much. This time of staying in the prison, it gives me idea about the women who is in the prison for a long time, what is the trainings and what is the reintegration models that they got. And also it gives me also information about those who are just arrived to the prison also. What is the things also that they started on it. So the duration, it gives us indicator about the availability of the reintegration programs and support models.
Okay. Okay, so the more a prisoner stays in prison, even if it is their first or second time, the more they are likely to have a deeper understanding of the prison situation. That's my thinking. Okay. Did you take advantage of the difference between the experiences of those who have stayed longer and those who have stayed for a short time, to answer your research question?
Actually, it was not clear in the answering this one, but I mentioned that I mentioned clearly that she was here also before in another crime.
Okay.
So that guide me that this economic situation of those women and the law of the education, job opportunities, it can affect them and return them again back to the prison.
We will come to that later. Let's
Okay.
we'll come to later in your findings section, in your
Okay.
presentation of findings section. Okay. Okay. Your sampling of staff of the prisons was also purposive, which is acceptable because you are doing a qualitative study. But I'm a bit worried about whether you successfully managed their power to possibly influence the results of the findings. These are powerful people. Okay? And, well, they are hosting you. And somehow, because you mentioned that it's not very easy to be free, even as a researcher in a prison setting. So they are quite powerful. And you engage them on the models of care or service. How did you ensure that their power is not going to influence their responses?
Thank you, Doctor, for
I
this.
want to see how you behaved there. Very important.
They will arrest me. Just kidding. Thank you, Doctor, for this question. The situation, it was really in like that. There is power for them, especially they are wearing the military military dress. So even when you are wearing that dress, that it gives you like with the weapons, with those things, it gives them like some of the power. How I manage this situation? I manage the situation that I capture all their statements and their speech in these interviews as what is it, and I put it as what is it. But also, I didn't depend on it 100%, but also I compared it with what the women in the prison saying, and also what I see myself during the observation of moving of in the way. Like, so the things that it was like in these three ways for decrease this the power that they can make it in the research.
Were some of them women?
Yes.
Some of them
Two.
were women.
Two, they are women. The women, they don't dress in the prison the military dress, but the men, yes, they dress military dress.
How did you find the female staff? How do you compare their responses with the male staff over on the discussion about women's welfare who are incarcerated?
Okay, during this study, I found that those women, they are very caring about the skills itself for those women and how they manage the situation with the women on the ground in a very careful way. I found the men, they are very caring about that. How can they get like more resources to manage the prison, and how can they get more programs or something like to get for these programs. They was not focusing that much in the skills or in the service itself.
Okay, so do you bring that out in your work?
Actually, it was in the interviews, and I think I reflect it a little bit in some of the short, but I can revise it again also. And
if you find it
make
necessary, because it's key because of your approach.
Thank you.
And because of your targeted population, it was an opportunity to find female staff to engage with. So some comparison and maybe some feedback for them.
I appreciate.
Having talked about feedback, were they interested in some of the findings while you were collecting data? Did you see these staff interested in some feedback regarding your work, your research? Because they listened to the questions as you were interviewing them. Were they interested in getting to hear some of the findings or all of the findings from your research? Or were they interested or not? Did you see them having an interest to follow up and find out somehow how are we performing, how are we doing? Did this come out? Did you see this kind of impression?
Actually, I found them, they want to express what they are doing and to show people what they are doing more than getting this information. But I got this always follow up and asking about the results. It is from the management of the Ministry of Interior.
Okay.
Even they are asking about presentation when I will back again to
They have asked you?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Even when I started, they says like, when you will come back, we need to make like a seminar to invite all the stakeholders in the community, the UN nation, the international humanitarian organizations and local organizations, and also to show these results. So we can work together how we can enhance. It was like they says like this is an opportunity to get a research in a low resource place like Yemen, because as a Ministry of Interior now, in this situation, they don't have the fund to conduct like this research. So they consider it as opportunity also.
So is this going to come after you have graduated?
Hopefully, yes, when I will back to Yemen.
What difference would it have made if you did it before even finalizing your writing of the thesis for today's meeting?
I was not in Yemen since 2023. I'm here. Yes.
Okay.
And there is no internet in Yemen, and this is like...
Have you shared your publication with
Yes, I shared it. Yeah, I shared it widely, yes.
Did you send it to those who participated in your work?
Yes, exactly.
And
yes,
they have commented?
Yes.
Why did you share it?
Yeah, no.
Why did you share it with them?
To read about the things that I published and the recommendations that I got.
Okay, so you're trying to also influence, to make sure that your research becomes useful. Did they give you any feedback that you found useful to improve your work?
Actually, some of them, they just translate it by Google, and they found some points, and they says like, this is like, okay, they discuss about it.
Okay.
But yeah, but not in a wide way, still not.
Okay. Do you know the concept of research validation or dissemination and validation? Do you know those two?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay. So I was trying to see whether you also had an intention to validate some of the emerging findings in maybe through emails or through WhatsApp with those contacts that you engaged, the women and the men, the staff. Of course, it could have been hard since you said that you haven't returned to Yemen, to do so with the prisoners, because also they might have already been released and they're in the category of those you can't find. But those two concepts would have been good also to purposefully include them without really making formal and expensive validation meetings, but with the purpose of wanting to get feedback on your work, since you're a feminist researcher. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I will take it in consideration.
Yeah, if this can work for you, I'll be happy. So the other question I have in the methodology, and don't worry, we might take long, but we're almost there. We are almost there. Don't worry so much. And you need some water also. Me, I'm having my water. Okay. I was worried a lot about the fact that you didn't have the opportunity to do audio recording of your interviews. And I understood that this was a very restricted environment. You must have reflected over and over again, okay, as a qualitative researcher, on how difficult it was for you to not do this important activity as part of your methodology. Data loss, you miss verbatim expressions, because I'm not so sure. Maybe when you write, is it Arabic?
Arabic.
When you write in Arabic, you are very, very fast, you'll capture everything. Is it easy for you to capture everything verbatim?
Yeah.
Was it easy for, I know you did your best, but what I'm saying is that you missed to do the recording. And as I was reading your work, I said, I would have tried as much as possible to record. How would I ensure that I am trusted, that I'm not taking voices outside the prison? I would engage those staff and say, this is important for the science of research. I want to record, but make sure that these recordings stay here. I transcribe them from here. I show you that I'm only taking text, and I destroy the audios from here, and I don't get out of prison with the recordings. This is what I thought would have been a way out. Did you think about this?
Yes, thank you so much. This is a very important point that I'm really happy to explain it.
Okay.
As I said, when I started this, preparing for this interview, there is something called قانون تنظيم السجون. قانون تنظيم السجون, it is the prison regulation law. So the prison regulation law that I received from the prison, it gives me like what should I do and what it is I can't. The things that I can't and it is not allowed, never, it is using any record, even if it will delete or something. So using the voices of the women, it was not allowed to record, and also the face, the face, any pictures of the faces. So how I manage this? Actually, I'm Arabic, يعني أنا شخص عربي من اليمن. This notes, it is my language, so it becomes like a little bit like easy to write, and even without like disturb those women who speak, because also when they speak, I can't like say no wait, I'm going to write, so I'm writing in a very very hard and very fast way, but I ensure that I don't conduct more than one interview or maximum two per one visit.
Okay.
And when I go back home, I also ensure that I make time to make all these interviews in the proper way and finalize it in the Arabic language. The translation, it happened after when I finalized. Even the translation, I translated here in Uganda when I came back from the field.
Okay. I think you did your best. I could see you tried as much as possible to fill that gap.
Thank you.
Reflect on what I am trying to say, and think about if you are to do this again, would you try to explain how you are ensuring that you remain within the laws and policies of prison to not record, but to enhance your research strength by doing what I suggested? Don't worry about it. But I'm happy that you are able to write almost everything in good speed, okay, in Arabic. That's very important. Now, this is what I find missing. In your presentation of the methods of data collection, okay, you do not give this kind of detail. And without doing so, we miss that important transparency, okay, helping us to see how exactly you behaved within the constraints or with the constraints that you had, okay, to collect data because of the context of prison context, Yemen context, and so on. For example, you do not give us this detail of how you went over. You know, you don't talk about how easy it is for you to write in Arabic, that you are faster. So you need to mention all of this because people wonder how you manage to scribble notes, because maybe there is even, I don't know, maybe there is a limit to how much time you can spend within the prison setting. Okay? Or you yourself have to work hard to make sure that you get out. So recording verbatim with the available technology, we find this quite helpful. But of course, before these technologies came, people are still doing research. But now at this moment, people will ask themselves, why didn't you use this? How did you feel as a researcher that you are constrained? And so how did you work towards addressing these issues? So I thought you needed to, even observation, you said you can't take pictures. As a method of data collection, give us those details. And I think you need to have each of these talked about or written about, okay, in its own subsection under that section of data collection. Documents review is a huge method of data collection. You do not give us details. The constraints on availability of these documents are not mentioned, okay? So for all the four, I think you mentioned 4 methods of data collection: documents review, key informant interviews, observation. Are these 4? Yes, and focus group discussions, okay? You have to present them so that we're able to see why they were important to you, how you applied them in detail, the constraints you faced. And even having said that, for example, focus group discussions, you say you did these in the community, not in the prison. Okay? And how I wish these FGDs had participants who had left prison and were women, but this was also not possible. And then my question on that is, how did you make sure that you are safe? Because this time you are again in the community. But for the women who left prison, you said you couldn't find them and because of security reasons. So where were these FGDs? Were they in very safe places, or you took the risk because it was 1 or 2 as opposed to doing 20 or more than 20 interviews with women?
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this question. The FGDs, it was outside the prison with the community members, which most of them, they are social and they have attitude about this topic. The location itself, it was in a community hall where there is like some activities they always like conduct and doing it. So it is like in a whole community hall, yeah.
Was not very far from the prison?
No, in the same area of the district, yes.
Okay. Did you have any of the participants coming from a family where there was once a woman in prison?
Again, please.
Did you have some of the participants in the focus group discussions coming from a family where there was once a woman incarcerated?
They didn't say like that. They
Okay.
didn't say maybe like even if that will happen because of the stigma discrimination that it is happened in Yemen. Like some of them, they don't announce that.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's cross over to your next chapter, the second or third last? Third last. We will not spend so much time here.
Okay.
Chapter 4, presentation of findings. Okay. I'll come back to this table where you present the characteristics, the social demographics in the chapter on findings. On findings. Okay. I don't know why you needed this in the findings. I don't know why you presented this in the findings. Why did you have to present socio-demographic characteristics of participants in the findings? Did you have a research question related to this? Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this question. Actually, it is not exactly in the research questions for the research question of this study, but I found that it will reach the information to start by general understanding about the situation of women in the prison, and it gives this study like a conclusion about this situation of women and the duration that been there, the age of them, the number of families. Like so, this I felt like I couldn't ignore this important mention, this important information.
Yeah, because this is very important information indeed, understanding or knowing the 20. I think these are 20. Did you also include the key informant interviews?
It is here.
Also the key informant interviews are included. Very good information, but my question is, how do these characteristics inform or help you in the understanding of reintegration? That goes back to the other question of the time spent. Does it have any relation or influence? Does it mean something when it comes to reintegration, or when it comes to the analysis of the models?
Okay, for the women themselves, like here, the period of staying in the prison, it gives us like the idea about the reintegration program's effect on those women and how they what is their perspective according to their staying in the prison and this socio-demographic characteristic. For the key informants, I didn't mention that the unnecessary information, like the personal information for them. Like for example, we're not focusing if they are married or not, if they have kids or not, because this study, it was related, for example, to their level of education, like how this education is related to them, to this job, or is they also like get like some capacity building during this time of in the prison. So even we can note it from the time that they are in the prison, just only one of them that he is before the war, he joined the prison before the war, 2015. Most of them, they are from the new forces of in Yemen.
Okay. When I went through this, I thought about this and said, if there is no direct research question that helps us relate with the characteristics of the study participants with reintegration or survival-driven criminalization and so on, maybe we are better off strengthening the description of the study participants in the methodology, okay, so that we know who these are. Okay, we know who these are. Who are these? Because you even, for instance, included all the women. You didn't sample to say, I'm interested in the married women, women who are coming from marriage, or women who are divorced. There were no specific research questions that you had, or the analysis that you did, that was informed or influenced by the characteristics of these. So if we don't have that out more clearly, then maybe we are better off keeping this as a wonderful description of the case study, which goes beyond just the prison, but goes also to the study participants, these women. We need to know them better there, because you describe the case in a much more detail and comes out better in the methodology for me. And then you focus on presenting your findings chapter based on the objectives. I don't know how you look at this. That's just a suggestion. Otherwise, I feel like to put this in the findings, then I should expect a further analysis of associations between reintegration and these different characteristics or parameters in terms of the description of the characteristics. Okay. I liked the observation. This was from your observation. The observation method was able to show us that were unused sewing machines. Okay? Which makes it very powerful, especially in terms of assessing the institutional capacity or institutional strength in terms of either rehabilitation or preparation for reintegration. And this is even a beautiful one if you give these feedbacks to the key informant interviews later. Maybe they would start to think about why keep these things in store, yet they are very, very important. You remember that observation. Okay, how did this shape your interpretation of the findings on reintegration readiness at the institutional level?
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for all the comments and the points that you gave me. I believe that it will enhance this research. So regarding to the institution findings, okay, the institution findings, it was in the under the objectives that it is talking about the rehabilitation programs. So it was including it was not just on it was not a very clear title about the institutional capacity, but it comes within the support programs description, and including the duration of these support programs and the capacity, the fund of these things. So like it comes from the like between lines of these descriptions.
Okay, so your presentation of findings is followed by a chapter that your presentation of the findings is followed by a chapter on the discussion of the findings. How come you did not present your findings in chapters related to your objectives? My thinking is that each of your objectives needed at least to contribute a chapter, or two of your objectives should have led to a chapter on findings, the empirical chapter. I don't know how you avoided, why you avoided to do that, because you present a section on findings and a chapter on findings, and you talk about each of the objectives as a subsection. I feel like you did not adequately give us or present the findings. Some findings could have stayed behind, but maybe you are able to maximize the analysis of your findings and present them in one chapter. Were you constrained, or that was your decision?
I tried my best to reflect all the findings in the discussion and link it with the theories and the literature review that I found. But also, I'm also open to revise it again and take all this in consideration.
The reason why I raise this is that
Yes.
interesting observations like this, which may get lost if you don't restructure your work according to the objectives, or if you keep it like this, then you have to make to give us a much more detail. But the best would be, if you ever thought about it, would be to have at least more than one chapter, and look at how you can combine the two objectives and organize your empirical chapters, if you want, with a discussion or without, and you have a final chapter to discuss. But I found this one of the most challenging gaps in your work.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. I will rethink about it, and I will.
If time allows, and if you think about this and it works well, I think it would be good, so that you have maybe a chapter presenting to us specific findings based on an objective 1, 2, and 3 as your empirical chapters, with a discussion which will be supported by your use of the theory and the literature at the same time, to tell us again how your contribution to your scholarly contribution in this field comes out. So I don't know, but I thought if there was time, or if we didn't have time, maybe this is why you did it like this. But otherwise, I can still follow, but I fear that I might be missing some details, some more data, and organized according to our objectives. So that if I want to read one specific chapter focusing on either barriers of reintegration or the models, model 1 and 2 and 3, I would be able to get this detail based on the data that you captured. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. Yes.
I have 1 or 2 questions on chapter 5. Your chapter 5 is discussion of findings. Okay. You argue that reintegration requires simultaneous micro, meso, and macro level interventions. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so these are levels of intervention that you are talking about in your recommendation, and they are based on what you observed in your research. So, but which of the 3 levels, okay, do you think is the weakest in Yemen, and why? Micro, meso, and macro level. Do you think they have the same weakness, or some of these levels are weaker than others?
Yeah,
And
the
why?
weakness it is in both.
Okay.
Because like the war and the conflict in Yemen, the economic situation, it can affect all the layers of the in Yemen, but also like it is effect in both. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where the micro is. Is it at the prison level, or is it in the community?
It is in the community also when they back.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the macro is at the state level?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, at state level. Yeah, about the government, the also the government policies, and the like how they can make, for example, the action plan for the government itself, and for this rehabilitation and reintegration of women, related to those women.
So if you were to invest limited resources in the reintegration process, where would you put the most? Would you give it to government? Would you give it to the prison? Would you give it to the families of the women living or in incarceration? Because you mentioned that there's limited resources.
Yes.
So where would you put the money?
So due to the limited resources now, I will give it to the local women local organizations, because they have strong policies, financial policies, and logistic policies, but that will be in closely coordination with the management of the prison.
I think you can take it forward when you reflect a little bit more.
Okay.
But I think you are right. You would want to focus again on the women and put your resources there. I don't know why you would want to leave the prison out and encourage them to even extend their reintegration programs outside of the prison. Don't worry about that. Okay, the second question in this part of your research, okay? Your research also implies that social stigma undermines all higher order needs, especially using your Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. Okay? There is social stigma. I'm thinking about, or you're actually thinking about, when women are reintegrated in those communities and they committed some of these crimes even related to their economic situation. So do you see community sensitization as a more essential intervention than vocational training? Yes or no?
Sorry, can I see the first one?
Okay.
Yeah.
The community receives,
Okay.
the communities receive women who have left prison. And you are talking about social stigma as a key problem. Because they return and they are labeled, you know, you've been a criminal, okay? So would you look at community sensitization or community engagement around issues of incarceration and release and reintegration to be a key intervention where you would invest money compared to vocational training, which is to give them skills so that when they return, they're able to survive? Those two, which one would you look at as critical, especially in terms of social stigma?
Okay, thank you so much for this question, Doctor. Actually, it can, like, I cannot separate one on the other, because the community receiving for those women with the vocational trainings and the skills that they have or they will get, the financial situation for them to be women in this conservative society. So it is, all of them intersect with each other. So it is like each one complete the other. So we cannot just only go for the community acceptance without the skills of the women, without the financial independence.
My problem with the skills without community sensitization is that even practicing the skills becomes a problem.
Yes.
So if we choose to focus on this stigma, I think maybe strengthen it and enhance its importance in terms of your recommendations or your observations. It seems to be a context that may not allow some freedom if you're talking about rights. So focusing on families, maybe within families there might still be issues. Somebody has been released, but when they come back, they are probably... By the way, that situation also exists here in Uganda. It's not just the Yemen case, okay? Even with men, it is an issue. So we think, and also from a social work perspective, I feel, and which is a field related to what you're doing, maybe think about those two, especially in terms of stigma. I think the investment there would be good, so that they are received, even when there are opportunities to pick skills from the community itself, not from the prison. Stigma can become
Yes.
a gatekeeping issue for these women. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. I totally agree with you.
Haven't we taken too long? Chair, don't we need to take a break? I want to conclude and we take a break. Okay? Conclude with your chapter on conclusions and recommendations. Okay. You are concluding and arguing that reintegration is impossible without a paradigm shift. Huh? Okay, so this paradigm shift is an action that you are looking at, isn't it? It should be an action that has to be taken. Okay. Okay, in the Yemen context, who must drive this shift or paradigm shift? Who will you give the money to lead the shift?
Thank you so much for this question.
Okay, is it, let me go on.
Yes.
Do you think prison authorities can drive this better than government? Or would you look at communities that are receiving them? Or would you look at NGOs like the one you are working with?
Thank you so much.
I want you to choose and explain why. One or all of
Yes.
them, and give us who should drive. I mean, we are talking about who should be the champion now.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. We will back again to the situation of Yemen, which is under the war since 2015. So the situation, the budget of the country, it is almost down, and the government, mostly in Yemen, it is failed to even to have like some administrative cost if they're for their offices. So I think in the case of Yemen, the government cannot be even if there is a willing, and even if they want to make like reform for this justice reform, but the budget, it is too low. So the one that they can control this process for it will be the women-led organizations and the fund that it can come to the women themselves.
Women-led NGOs.
Women-led NGOs, yes.
How is their space today in Yemen? How are they regarded by especially the powerful government or the state?
The powerful of the women-led organizations, it is working in the community, and they are working like so hard with to secure like some of the basic needs of the community women in general, and also to implement some of the like fund that they can receive. But as we all know now, because of the shortage of fund during the US aid crisis now, so also like we need also to search about alternative situation and alternative solutions for this problem.
Okay, the final question.
Thank you.
The very final question. I will not speak again until we leave this place. Okay. If you were to do this study again, what would you do differently? That's my last question.
Thank you so much, Doctor. If I will do this research again, I will make it bigger. I will go for all the prisons of Yemen, and I will make it like a comparative study for the situation of women in all the central prisons of Yemen. I will use the intersectionality theory also to understand what is the power dynamic of the of these things, and what is the influence of the women in prison. Also, I would like to have like a comparative study between the men and women situation in the prison. Thank you so much.
hope you make those recommendations for future research in your work. Okay, so with that, I beg to hand back the mic to the chair of the session. Once again, thank you very much for this interaction, for this conversation. And as I said at the beginning, I hope it helps you to advance further in your scholarly journey. Congratulations.
Thank you, Doctor.
And Merry Christmas
so
and
much.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
I said congratulations because of the step. There is still a process, and I wish you the best in that remaining part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, our critical reader, Dr. Phiona Mpanga. Thank you very much, Samah. Yeah, every doctor you see here, and each and every PhD holder you will meet on the way went through this. So, yeah, she went through it last week, the other week. So, they are veterans. Now, I want also to ask you I will make a few comments because I was your work examiner. I was your examiner. As examiners and panelists, we have to ask you a few questions. But your supervisor will not ask you a question. Okay. Take me to the topic. When I was examining, I spent like 10 minutes reading the topic. And what did I find? The first question was, who is a woman prisoner? Don't answer it now. Who is a woman prisoner? Then I went to reintegration. What is reintegration? Then Yemeni communities. I said, how many are these Yemeni communities? Do we have so many Yemeni communities? So they want to reintegrate them there. But then the question is, what is the prison support models? What are those models? That one you have to ask, what do you mean by prison support models? What are prison support models? What do you mean by that? What should we take out of that?
Thank you so much, Dr. Mugiza, for these important questions. I will start with women in prison or women prisoners.
I want only this.
Which one? Huh?
I want what you mean by prison support models.
Thank you so much. Okay. The prison support models, it is the rehabilitation programs inside the prison, starting from the vocational trainings, the psychosocial support models, the legal support, the family unification. Yes, this is the models that I found it, that I didn't start it before, I didn't make it before, but this is what I found it from the interviews itself and from the situation of the prison itself.
Because of time, I stop there with that question. But take me to the socio-demographics. Because of time, yes. We want to be very brief.
Yes. No, yeah.
There. Then the question is, if you had 20 and they were imprisoned for a number of crimes, where all of these, and I put it simple, we have the one who was imprisoned for kidnapping, another one for theft, another one for murder. Was that person who was incarcerated or imprisoned for murder expected to go back to the community?
From the interviews that I made,
according to your according to Yemeni community, to Yemeni policies, guidelines, and whatever laws. If someone is imprisoned or convicted of murder, are they expected to go back to communities? After serving, is there a time limit when they are supposed to go back to the community, or they don't go back?
From the interviews that I found all of them, they hope to go to the community.
No, but what does the law say? You reviewed the literature. What does it say?
Yeah, there is challenge outside also in the community, but also they rethink about it, how they can overcome this challenge.
You know why I'm asking this?
Yes, please.
These lawyers have what they call recidivism.
Yes.
Recidivism will determine the model. If someone is expected to go back to the community, will be prepared for re-entry into the community. If someone is not expected to go back, is just prepared to serve that sentence, and if he is to be hanged, then he is prepared for hanging, death. That's why I asked that question. I can leave that.
Thank you, Doctor.
But then another question here is, I saw that it was too broad. You needed to unpack it. When you hunt a buffalo, you don't take the whole of it. Reintegration, preparation for reintegration involves so many spheres, like the economic, the social, and the rest. So studying the whole world made the work too broad, too big for you to handle. That's why you find that, like, when they are preparing them, either they are prepared for public safety, so they prepare them such that when they go to the community, they are received, but also the community remains safe. Not so. Because otherwise they may end up committing other crimes to be brought back. So the prison could have been preparing them so that they don't commit other crimes. Anyway, as the chairman now I'm the chairman. Now I want to invite another panelist to ask a question, because there I was. Now I identified myself as an examiner. An examiner. Now I'm the chair. I invite Dr. Peace to come and make a brief comments and questions, because we are supposed to make questions, few of them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Some of the questions have been really overtaken by events, so I have a few. The first one, I look at your background, where you told us that there were 11 million prisoners globally. So I would like to know how many prisoners in Yemen. Did you find out that?
Actually, because also the war of Yemen, so there is lack of data in Yemen. Even one of the contribution of this research, it is bringing a lot of data to the situation of Yemen. So in Yemen, I couldn't find a specific number.
Okay. The second question is about conceptualization of women's needs in prison. So what do you call, or what are these women's needs in prison?
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this important question. Also from the interviews that I conduct, from the in-depth information, I found that the financial independency for them, it is one of the most important, but also they prioritize the legal assistance as they are in the prison more than the financial independency.
Thank you. The third question is on your specific objective, number 4. According to what you have presented, do you think you if you didn't have this objective, you would have made recommendations that you made. If you did not have this objective as a standalone objective, would you have made the recommendations that you have made?
Thank you so much for this critical question, Doctor. The objective number 4, it gives me opportunity to get the recommendations from the voices of those women themselves. So it helps so much in the general and at the end of the recommendations. So it cannot be without it.
So you are saying you cannot do without it?
Yes.
In other words, if you didn't have that objective, you wouldn't have made recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Yes.
You can think about it.
Okay, I wouldn't think about it. Thank you so much.
The fourth question, which might be the last one, is most women in jail, according to data that you presented, are divorced or were divorced. So did divorce happen after they entered the jail, or they entered the jail when they were already divorced?
From the data also that I got it in the in-depth interviews, that they are already divorced before, and they have the responsibility of the, so here the gender rules after the divorce, it comes like the gender rules, it comes on the women themselves. So she becomes the one that she need to take care about the kids. She becomes the one that she need to go outside to work and to bring the money. So this is the gender rules that it is happening for these women, divorced women.
And lastly, you indicate that in the under education level or level of education, you have a category called illiterate. Illiterate as a category of level of education. Is that the appropriate level of education?
In Yemen, it is very difficult for women to get to have access to the education. So we can see like a lot of women in the Yemeni community, they are like they cannot read or they cannot write even the Arabic language.
Okay, I hand over to another.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peace.
Thank you, Dr. Peace. Meanwhile, before I involve or I read what Dr. Samah has posted, I request Professor Josephine Aikire, who is online, to get ready, because I will invite you to make your contribution immediately after dealing with Samah's comments. Dr. Samah says that his power is on and off. So one is a comment that you should have started by explaining that to the audience how you defined reintegration and the prison support models. That is a comment. The second one is on the theories. Why not an intersectional lens? But I think you talked about it, so that one is there. You presented it. Then 3, what gender analytical framework did you use to examine the gender issues in the prison support models? Can you answer that briefly in just a sentence?
The liberal feminist theory, it helps in this research. It helps in the.
So
analysis.
in simple terms, you used the liberal feminist
theory.
Good. Then 4, exactly what made the women's prison disorganized compared to the men's? Is it true that you said it is this women's prison was disorganized?
Not only not about disorganized,
or it was
but
not
maybe about
well developed.
About the infrastructure of the prison for the women, as we saw from that picture, how the section for men it is organized, and the women, and also it is mentioned clearly in Bangkok rules that the the women, it is always like forgotten from this starting of infrastructure and the situation.
Okay, thank you. So you meant that it is the men's prison is more organized or developed
Yes.
and structured,
Yes, doctor.
but not disorganized in the sense of, okay, that
Yeah.
is, okay, it is.
Yes.
Then
Yes,
next is, it appears all the FGDs were mixed. Why didn't she include some gender segment? But I think that one is out because all these were women. Then number 6, weren't there any NGOs working on reintegration of women prisoners who could be key informants? I think this one she answered. She looked at some NGO among the key informants. That one is already answered. Most of the women prisoners were divorced. Is there any key link with the prison support models? So that, okay.
Okay, so thank you so much. So they divorced before they enter to the prison. So, and the prison support models, it is a process inside the prison itself. So
No.
it is integrated with each other.
No, what he wants here is whether the analysis revealed whether this marital status had a link with the support models provided. So whether level of education, marital status, and the rest determined the support model someone got. Okay, now Farouk, we want to invite the Professor Ikire. Those are the comments and questions from Dr. Samah.
Thank you so much.
Now we want to invite Professor Josephine. Professor Josephine, she has been waiting. She has listened to all the presentation. Professor, unmute.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Prof.
Yes, how are you? Thank
Yeah,
you. I've listened to the interaction with the critical reader and the subsequent examiners. So I have just a few follow-up questions. As I looked at the demographics, the crimes of the women differ. You indicate prostitution, bombing, assassination, kidnap. But when you present, you're just talking about women. Is there a possibility that you could actually unpack this and the experience with the models of reintegration?
Thank you so much, Dr. Prof. Josephine. Thank you so much for this important question. Yes, I reflect all these crimes, and I made some of the explanation in the thesis about what is the crimes of those women and what is the factors of committing these crimes. I described that how they used by other. I described that how they are like becomes in this situation, and also about like how can these support models enhance their situation and not back again to the crime after they come back to the community. Thank you so much.
My question is, are these women similar? Because already you have flagged the intersectionality framework, which I think you cannot really postpone, because these women are already different in terms of the crimes, in terms of their status, in terms of every other thing. A follow-up question on theory also. How does the liberal feminist framework help you to make the conclusion that you make?
Thank you so much, Prof. The liberal feminist theory, it was one of the most important aspects that shape the conclusion and assist if the existing models it is enough and it can ensure that the successful reintegration to the community or not. So the conclusion it was about the aspects of the liberal feminist theory and how it can shape the women pathway.
Could you please recap what is the core of feminist theory, liberal feminist theory?
Liberal feminist theory, it is talking about the women rights, the equality, the...
No, please don't say it is talking about. What is the core of the liberal feminist theorization?
freedom and human rights.
Freedom and human rights. Ever heard of the public-private domains?
Do you mean regarding to...
I want to hear the essence, the core of liberal feminist theory, not generally freedom, blah, blah.
Okay.
Who, for example, did you use? Which theorist did you use in this framework?
I used in this framework the liberal feminist theory.
Theorist, like a scholar.
The liberal feminist theory that focus on the equality, legal rights, reform within the existing system, the equality, the gender equality.
You quote one scholar, at least one scholar in that area.
From the, I wrote about the SMART in 2019 and TON also 2021.
Okay, lastly, could you recap your major research question and how that makes a contribution to feminist studies?
Okay, the research question, it is reflecting all the objectives of this study, starting from the type and nature of these programs, support models, the skills of the women in the prison that they will need it for the successful reintegration, the perspective of the women themselves in the prison, what is their perspective about all these programs, support models, and also regarding to the recommendations that I found it from the women in the prison themselves.
Okay, Chairperson, back to you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have another panelist. Okay, thank you so much. Yousef, I remember when you had just started writing the proposal. Now I'm here at the last moment, again interacting with you. But anyway, mine, just a few comments, 2 comments for you to think about.
Okay.
One is on theory.
Yes.
You said you used 3 theories: liberal feminism, intersectionality.
I used liberal feminist and Maslow.
Maslow, yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
2 theories.
Yes, 2 theories. I want to see, why was it important for you to use Maslow's
theory, because when I look at liberal feminism, of course this also comes in, you should have, in my opinion, if you look at liberal feminism, it has certain gender analytical framework it informs that you should have used. For example, I'm aware that liberal feminism informs women in development approach, WID, and that informs the Harvard analytical framework. And within the Harvard analytical framework, or what we call gender roles framework, it talks about strategic and practical gender needs. Why didn't you think about that instead of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Because this one also talks about the need strategic and practical needs. Because if it was in that order, then it becomes easier for you to give a real gender analysis. Otherwise, when I looked at this theory, because it focuses on individual women, so it falls within the WID approach. So somehow in your conclusion, your last objective, which Dr. Peace was asking you about, if we go there, the last objectives. To propose a gender responsive framework for rehabilitation that addresses. And now, this is where I would assume from the liberal feminism, which is more of informed by, which informs WID approach, women development, the gender roles framework to help you in analyzing the different prison support models. The weaknesses, because liberal feminism focus on the individual, freedom, rights, and whatever. Of course, it recommends reforms in the existing structures. Now, here, a gender-responsive framework. This is where maybe you'll get insights from GAD, Gender and Development, to develop the gender-responsive framework. Because the WID approach, when I look at your analysis, it's more on women. Then to bring in now, when you are recommending a gender responsive, you have to go beyond simply the approach which focuses only on women. Because it does not give you, because when I look at your study, to go to the next issue in your recommendation, the biggest challenge women face, the women prisoners, I discovered that much of their problems were instigated at the back of it by men. So in your recommendation, I was thinking, why don't you think of sensitizing men to understand the plight of women? Because it is, first of all, the patriarchal culture that made these women vulnerable in the situation wherever they were in. For example, the example you gave, like the other woman who was imprisoned in the house, then to find the child to survive, you throw the child out. Not because you don't like the child, but you want the child to get something. So when I looked at all those different women, I discovered that there is a problem which is patriarchal. So in your recommendation, I didn't hear you talking about involvement of men. I don't know whether I misheard, but to me, I realize it's very important to engage men, because if men understand and appreciate what is happening, maybe the reason why these women are committing these offenses and ending up to prison, it has to do with patriarchy. So think about it. Those are some of the comments I wanted to put forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
How do you feel? Take a sip of water. Sip, please. Yeah. We are almost coming to the end. Now, members in the room, if you have any question or comment, raise your hand and put it forward. Anyone with a question? Donna, you seem to be having one.
Thank you, Chair, and well done, Samah, on the work. I read the work, I think, first time you submitted, and it was really interesting. And I think my question would still be the same that everyone is asking, because the work seems to homogenize women, to look at them as women, bundle them without explaining, because clearly your data shows that there are differences. They've committed different crimes. They are of different ages. They're different, but we are simply looking to think that their needs are homogeneous. So there I think the theoretical framework does not come out well. The conceptualization of the whole thing does not really individualize women in their individual form. But also, having found out that the prison system, and a lot of literature on the whole prison system, even in Uganda, shows that prisons were patriarchal set structures. They were literally made for men. The systems, if you go to any prison settings, they are literally made for men. They do not support women. So I think building the work all around the women in themselves puts out the fact that now women are being thrown into a setting of what was built for men, and so we're not bringing out their experience in this versus what actually the men face. So, but otherwise, well done on the work, and all the best. Thank you.
What changed? Now women can be incarcerated. What changed? Prisons were built for men. You want to respond? That was a comment. Please, it was a comment. Don't respond. There is a question? Hey, Dr. Charlotte, go ahead and make your contribution. Thank you for being online. Dr. Charlotte. Dr. Charlotte, go ahead and make your contribution. She's away. So we come almost to the end. We request the non-panelists to step out. You are welcome back. And this panel, and even some who are online, we are convinced that you presented well, you defended your work, you are the one who did it. You have passed. However, you have some comments you have to address before you appear on the graduation list. And one is that the way you presented the theory was weak. So you have to strengthen it. However, we have to look into your book to see whether theory is there. It is one thing to present it. The presentation can be different from what is in the book. But the presentation, in as far as theory is concerned, was a bit weak. So you need to strengthen it. Two, it was agreed that social demography, that you remove the demographic characteristics, the way you presented it, that table. You remove it, you put it at the back as an appendix. Is it clear? So remove it from the text.
Yes.
In the book. But also acknowledge that you have English language, some challenges with English, not so. So please, that would be good to show your positionality and the reflexivity. You put there a chapter, not a chapter, a section, a paragraph explaining how you have come this far. Because 3 years back, you couldn't speak English, but now you have improved greatly. No, so you show that, put that, but also it was agreed that some of the narratives, the quotes you have, they would come out properly if at all you put them in Arabic, then you put that English as a translation, so it would make it colorful. Otherwise, that is all that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you for all of you. Thank you for. I want also to start in my acknowledgement. I acknowledge so much the efforts and the efforts of my supervisors, Professor Grace Bantebya, and also Professor Dr. Phiona. With your great support for me during this journey, it was very, very important to finalize and to be here today. Also, I acknowledge also the help and support of the Ministry of Interior in Yemen and the Eden Prison Management staff, all of them. Without their support, I will not be able to enter to the prison and get all this research. I acknowledge also all the voices of women that they shared with me in this study, and they gave me this opportunity to reflect it. I really appreciate Makerere University for this opportunity to be a PhD student here, and I get all the knowledge. I remember, like, before I came to here, like, I was not in this level of knowledge and of the information. Even I got a lot of practice for the research methodologies, for the how can I write the proposals, the research. I attended a lot of courses here, and that's helped me a lot in my career and in finalizing this research, particularly the Institute of Gender and Development, and also the Makerere University Library. Within my stay here also, I was able to secure this Erasmus program at Turin University with the help of Makerere University in the exchange program for 9 months. Special thank for the Professor Jusman Alessandro, and also special thank for Professor Debio, that she was always contact me in Italy, and she was always like taking care of coordinate this program, and my station there, my situation is there. My big and great thanks for my family, who suffer a lot without me in Yemen, because I'm the only daughter for my mom. So special thank for my mom and for my dad, for my brother, all of them. Without their courage and support, that I will not be here today. Thank you so much.